Springfield, Missouri looked like it always did that morning. Quiet streets, routine Sunday calm, nothing out of place. But by the time the sun went down, that normality would be shattered forever. 3 women walked into a house and were never seen again. What happened inside that house on East Delmar Street didn't just change one family, it turned an entire city into a place where silence itself feels suspicious. The disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, a case now known as the Springfield Three disappearance, remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in American history. More than 3 decades later, the case still haunts the city of Springfield and continues to fascinate true crime audiences around the world. What makes the mystery so terrifying is not only the disappearance itself, but the strange silence left behind. 3 women vanished from a normal suburban home without signs of violence, without witnesses, and without a clear explanation. It was as if they had simply disappeared into thin air. Graduation night. The story began on June 6, 1992. 18-year-old Stacy McCall had just graduated from high school along with her close friend Suzie Streeter. Like many teenagers celebrating graduation, the two spent the evening attending parties around Springfield. Friends later said the mood was happy and normal. Nothing appeared unusual about the night. Originally, Stacy planned to stay at another friend's house after the celebrations. However, because the house was crowded with guests, Stacy and Suzie decided to spend the night at Suzie's home instead. The house belonged to Suzie's mother, Sherrill Levitt, a cosmetologist who lived in a quiet neighborhood on Delmar Street. The girls arrived sometime after 2 a.m. on June 7. Witnesses later confirmed seeing them alive that night. It would be the last confirmed sighting of any of the 3 women. The empty house. The next morning, friends tried contacting Stacy and Suzie, but received no answer. Concerned, several people went to the house on Delmar Street. What they discovered was deeply unsettling. Inside the home, everything looked strangely normal. The women's cars were parked outside. Their purses, clothes, makeup, and cigarettes remained inside. Stacy's jewelry and personal belongings were untouched. Sherrill's dog was alone in the house but unharmed. The television was on, and there were no obvious signs of a struggle, yet the women were gone. One detail immediately stood out: the porch light outside the home had been shattered. Friends cleaned up the broken glass before investigators arrived, unknowingly destroying potential evidence. To this day, nobody knows whether the broken light had anything to do with the disappearance. The front door was unlocked, which raised even more questions. Had the women left willingly? Had someone entered the house during the night? Or had they been forced outside? Investigators quickly realized this was no ordinary missing persons case. Early investigation. Police launched a massive investigation almost immediately. Detectives searched the home carefully, hoping to uncover fingerprints, signs of forced entry, or evidence of violence. However, very little useful evidence was found. The beds appeared slept in. Personal items remained untouched. There were no signs the women had planned to leave for an extended period. Nothing suggested they had packed bags or prepared for a trip. One strange clue involved a series of obscene phone calls received at the house after the women disappeared. According to reports, a friend answering the phone heard disturbing sexual comments from an unidentified male caller. Unfortunately, the calls were not traced. Investigators interviewed dozens of witnesses and followed hundreds of leads. Some tips pointed toward local criminals, while others suggested the women may have encountered someone dangerous during the graduation celebrations. However, every major lead eventually reached a dead end. The mystery only deepened as time passed. Theories and rumors. Over the years, countless theories have emerged about what happened inside the house on Delmar Street. Abduction by someone they knew. One of the most common theories is that the women were abducted by someone familiar to them. Since there were no signs of forced entry, investigators considered the possibility that the women willingly opened the door to someone they trusted. Supporters of this theory believe the suspect may have arrived late at night after the girls returned home. Because Sherrill, Suzie, and Stacy likely felt comfortable with the person, they may not have sensed danger until it was too late. Others believe the abductor could have used a weapon to control all three women quickly and quietly. A serial predator. Another theory suggests the women became victims of a serial offender operating in the area during the early 1990s. Some investigators explored possible links to other unsolved crimes involving missing women. The idea of a traveling predator terrified the public. If true, it meant the suspect could have disappeared long ago, leaving almost no evidence behind. Despite years of speculation, police have never confirmed a connection between the Springfield Three and any known serial killer. The parking garage theory. Perhaps the most famous rumor connected to the case involves a hospital parking garage in Springfield. In 2007, a crime journalist claimed an informant suggested the bodies of the women might be buried beneath the structure. Ground-penetrating radar reportedly detected anomalies under the garage, leading many to believe human remains could be hidden there. The story spread rapidly across true crime communities and documentaries. However, investigators never excavated the site extensively, partly because doing so would have required enormous cost and disruption. No evidence has ever confirmed the theory, and many experts remain skeptical. Still, the idea that the missing women could lie beneath concrete in their own city continues to haunt local residents. A community in fear. The disappearance shocked Springfield because violent crimes of this nature were rare in the area at the time. Residents suddenly realized that something terrifying could happen even in an ordinary suburban neighborhood. Parents became fearful for their children. Doors that once remained unlocked at night were suddenly secured. The mystery created a lasting atmosphere of paranoia and uncertainty throughout the city. Media coverage intensified the fear. Newspapers and television stations across the country reported on the bizarre disappearance. The case soon became nationally famous because of its unusual details and total lack of answers. Unlike many crimes, there was no crime scene filled with blood or destruction. Instead, there was only silence. An untouched home where three people had seemingly vanished without explanation. That image disturbed people more than almost anything else. The victims. As the years passed, many true crime discussions focused heavily on theories and suspects. However, at the center of the mystery were three real women whose lives suddenly ended in tragedy. Sherrill Levitt. Friends described Sherrill as caring, hardworking, and deeply devoted to her daughter. She had recently remodeled her home and was excited about the future. Those who knew her said she would never willingly disappear and abandon her family. Suzie Streeter. Suzie was known for her independent personality and strong friendships. Like many teenagers, she was entering a new chapter of life after graduation. Friends remembered her as energetic and social. Stacy McCall. Stacy came from a close-knit family and had dreams for her future after high school. Her mother later became one of the most vocal advocates for keeping the investigation alive. For the families, the absence of answers became its own kind of suffering. Without bodies or confirmed evidence, there was never closure. The challenges of the case. One reason the case remains unsolved is the lack of physical evidence. Investigators faced several problems from the beginning. Friends and visitors unknowingly contaminated the house before police arrived. Potential fingerprints and evidence may have been destroyed accidentally. The broken porch light glass was cleaned up, and people moved around inside the home before authorities secured the scene. Additionally, in 1992, modern forensic technology was far less advanced than it is today. DNA testing was still developing, and surveillance cameras were uncommon in residential neighborhoods. If the crime occurred today, investigators might have access to cell phone tracking, security footage, and advanced forensic tools that did not exist at the time. Because of this, many experts believe critical evidence may simply have been missed forever. The enduring mystery. More than 30 years later, the Springfield Three case continues to generate documentaries, podcasts, online discussions, and investigative articles. New theories appear constantly, but none have solved the mystery. Police still receive occasional tips, though most provide little new information. The case officially remains open. For many people, the most disturbing aspect of the mystery is how ordinary everything seemed before the disappearance. There was no warning, no dramatic confrontation, and no clear explanation. Three women spent an evening celebrating graduation and returned to what should have been a safe home. By morning, they were gone forever. The empty house on Delmar Street became a symbol of unanswered questions, a place where normal life suddenly transformed into one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. Even today, the story of the Springfield Three continues to haunt investigators and true crime audiences alike because it challenges something people want desperately to believe, that home is always safe. And perhaps that is why the mystery has never faded. No arrests, no confirmed suspects, no bodies, only an empty house, a broken porch light, and 3 women who vanished into the night.